Here we have a dear friend of mine, Buddy Leach, and I'm so honored to have him do the introductions for our next keynote speaker, Governor Edwin.
And certainly some honor tonight. Deserve those honors more than we can tell them tonight. But I'd like to remind you too of a few more Democrats, and that will lead me up to our next speaker. We had a Democrat named Gillis Long. Some of you should remember him. We had a Democrat named Edwin Reggie. Some of you might not have known him, but he played on the national scene and did more for Louisiana than many other people could have or would have done. He was quite a Democrat. We had a fellow named Hale Boggs. And a real quick story that some of you might know. Hale Boggs ran for governor one time. Of course, he was liberal. He was from New Orleans. The control of the Louisiana Democratic Party was under the segregationists. So they met in convention and were going to deny Hale Boggs his place on the ballot. There was another Democrat named Camille Gravel, who stands head and shoulders above many, 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 many public servants in service to the people. Camille Gravel was running Earl Long's campaign. Hale Boggs was running for governor against Earl Long. Camille Gravel took leave from being manager of Earl's campaign, came to Baton Rouge, went into the Democratic Party convention, and when they made the motion to deny Congressman Boggs a place on the Democratic ticket, Camille Gravel asked to be heard. When he finished, there was not a second to the motion. Hale Boggs was on the ticket. It would have been much easier for Earl Long had he not been. But at the same time, Gravel believed in the rights. And he certainly showed it there. Of course, Hale also gave us, or he didn't give her to us, but we thought he did, a great lady when Lindy Boggs took his place. And of course, I mentioned here this evening, Victor Busey was a man, a Democrat. These people I've mentioned, because this next person, I will tell you, was not smarter than they are by any means, but the impact he had trying to carry out their wishes, their ideas, their desires to help those who needed the help the most. The years I served in the legislature, and Governor Edwin Edwards was governor, he never once approached me with any legislation that was not in the best interest of this state. He did, in fact, raise the severance tax. And of course, our commissioner is well aware of that. That was one of the few times since Huey Long actually put a tax on oil and gas. McKesson raised it slightly, but he gave them more than we got out of that. But then along comes Governor Edwards, recognizing how cheap we were getting price for Louisiana oil and gas, but knowing what was about to happen to the true value of energy, he had the legislature to change severance from so many cents a barrel to 1% of value. And that's what gave us money to do some of the good works that got done during the Edwards administration. Another thing that is often overlooked, the federal government tried to settle the offshore dispute about the royalty coming to Louisiana, as well as Mississippi, Alabama, the other Gulf Coast states. But we had a very smart man, he's deceased, so I won't go into that. But his name was Leander Perez, and he told the governor then, Bob Kennan, not to settle for what President Eisenhower was offering, that he could get more. Louisiana ended up getting the least amount of the offshore money than any other state. Finally, through the help of many of the men and women we sent to Washington, we finally got a settlement, partial money that we should have got a lot more. Governor Edwards was governor of this state. He proposed and we passed and put that money into a public trust. Oh, it could have been spent on things that we needed, bridges, roads. We could have spent it on many things. But he put it into a education trust, the largest single public trust for public education in the nation. You don't hear him mentioned as an education trust. I've had the pleasure of having brief conversations with the man that equals Governor Edwards' ability to get things done. His name's Bill Clinton. I've had the pleasure of having brief conversations with our president, Barack Obama. But I will tell you tonight, it's my pleasure to introduce a man to all of you who ranks up there with our former President Clinton and our present President Barack Obama, Governor Edwin Edwards.
Very good. Thank you so much. This is great. Look, the Republican Party has a lot of millionaires, billionaires, rich people, talking about going back to our roots. All these people, all these years since the days of Franklin Roosevelt, got rich on Democratic policies and programs, and then they became Republicans. When they got rich, they started saying, government doesn't need to help people. We don't need subsidies for farmers. If they can't make it on their own, let them go broke. We don't need to give help to poor people who can't find a job. If they can't find a job, then it's because they're lazy. Let them starve. Republicans historically have not had a heart for those in need. Now, I know, you know, I've been criticized. People have on occasion said bad things about me. But I want you to know, I never gave up the fight. Listen to me. The Democratic Party is on its way back. I'll give you two good reasons. One of them is Bobby Jindal. He's helping us a lot. Destroyed our hospital system, messed up our highway system, damaged our higher education, overlooked school teachers, bus drivers, lunchroom workers, and civil servants. The other reason, the other name that the Democratic Party is coming back is because at 6 o'clock this morning, I was rocking a 12-month-old Democrat named Eli Edwin. And his mother is sitting right there with me, Trina. Right. I'm doing all I can to go home in peace and quiet. Let me tell you about my friend Ben Jefferson. In 1965, when I was running for Congress the first time, I came to my house one day, two young black fellows. Well, I wasn't sure about Ben, but the other guy was black. Who offered to help me. And I said, being the politician that I like to think I am, well, I appreciate that very much. What can you do for me? We'll make calls, we'll put out signs, we'll do whatever you tell us to do. And then what can I do for you? And this fella, almost black, Ben Jeffers, said to me, I want a job in the post office in Lake Charles. When I look, in those days, you could promise things to people if they helped you. And boy, I promised. And the reason I kept getting re-elected is I kept my promise. After I got elected, here comes Ben Jeffers. You remember I met you at your house and you promised to get me a job in the post office? I said, sure, I'm working on that. He looked at me like he wasn't sure he believed it. Said, you'll hear from me in a few weeks. Well, I called him from Washington. I said, Ben, go down to the post office Tuesday morning. The postmaster will be expecting you. I've got you a job as a letter carrier. Well, we had a misunderstanding. I said, what you mean? Well, I was supposed to be postmaster. I said, Ben, you're only 19 years old. And you never been in the post office. You never worked in the system. You can't be postmaster. Well, he didn't show up. But he never stopped asking, and I didn't remember all those jobs I gave you. And I think while you were chief of staff, you just assigned some yourself. But whatever you did, I'm proud of you, and I'm happy to have had the association. And I'm telling you, you deserve the award that was given you tonight. Incidentally, like you said, I did appoint the first black postmaster in a racially mixed community in the South, not just in Louisiana. And I have the scars to prove it. But you want to know something? With all the trouble that I had getting it done, the people of Palmetto accepted it. They worked well. The white folks took the new postmaster to heart. He did his job. Everything went well. And you know, when I was trying to decide whether or not I was going to take the risk and the criticism of appointing him, his name was Huey Fontenoy, and when I first saw his name in Washington, I said, oh, that's a good Cajun fellow, I'll give him the job. I didn't know he was a black guy. Now, Ben, he was black. I went to see him. I drove to Palmetto, went to his house. And he said, you know, Congressman, you and I are much alike. I said, how is that? He said, my daddy was a cotton farmer, sharecropper like your daddy. I picked cotton like you did when I was in my teens. My daddy worked and saved and scrimped, had no education like your daddy. Sent me to school, sent me to college. I got a degree. I'm teaching school. Like you, I have 3 boys. They were playing in the yard. And he said to me, what am I going to tell these fellas? That my daddy scrimped and saved and suffered, and my mother did what she could to make things meet so that their son could go to college to get an education, and because I'm black, I can't get a job? What am I going to tell my kids? That they should work and go to school and earn and improve themselves if they're going to be denied opportunities because of the color of their skin. I said to him, you'll never have to tell them that, because you're going to be the postmaster in Palmetto. And that's one of the proudest things that I've ever done.